This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with.
24/7 BUFvNJJ, Sunday Session viewers, Buffalo Bills fans, Bills Mafia. This is Sunday Sessions with me, Swank, him, Scott, and this guy, Mr. Ryan Thomas. And I'll tell you what, man, I am clear. My passages are getting clear. 2 weeks of bullshit and snot and stuff in my head, and now I can finally feel like myself, and I'm going to celebrate. So
you sound better. You just sound better, man.
It's still a little bit up here, but it's good.
Yeah. Just don't do any snot rockets or anything right in the middle of the show.
So Scott and myself, you know us from 24/7. Down below, one of our best friends in the whole wide world, Mr. Ryan Thomas. Ryan, tell everybody what you're about.
I'm all about the Buffalo Bills. I'm all about Buffalo. I'm all about the people. I'm a man of the people.
Yeah.
The people of Buffalo in particular, the people of Western New York. You guys know me. Obviously, having me at the event, the Rager, a couple months back, I got to meet a lot of Bills fans from all over the land, whether it was Western New York or abroad. This fan base is so amazing. It's given guys like us the opportunity to communicate and meet new people that we'd never have the chance to meet. And I've really enjoyed, obviously meeting you guys along the way of the podcast journey and just helping people, brighten their day with some Bills content, right?
Hell yeah. That's what it's all about. I mean, it's kind of like self-serving and rewarding at the same time, right? Like we get to talk about what we love. We get to communicate with a bunch of people and meet great people and hang out. And once a year we can get together and rage. It's great.
Yep.
The Rager.
Yeah, it really checks off a lot of boxes. That's for sure.
For sure. And, of course, you guys know my mustachioed friend over here, Mr. Scott Reed, one half of a twin pack. And, Scott, how you feeling today, man? We're going down to Jersey. We're going down to Stinky Foot, Jersey, to take on the New Jersey Jets. And
man.
This is only the second division game of the year so far. We're halfway through. What are you feeling, man? How you feeling about this game?
I'm glad you brought that up. Second division game. We're about to have a run in the next handful of weeks of division games, which I always say, guys, the best way to the playoffs is by winning the division. So it's a big week. It's the first week in November, which means it's salute to service. And I just want to throw this out there real quick, Swank, if you don't mind.
Sure, do it.
November 22nd on the K-Gun Report, guys, we're going to be doing another giveaway. It's going to be the Josh Allen salute to service jersey. Okay. And we'll explain that on the next shows coming up. But I just wanted to say the salute to service. Thank you for all that have served and done that part that, people, it takes brass to make that decision in life to go ahead and protect our country. And salute to the service, guys, everyone out there. Thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. But it's an exciting week. Like I said, we got the beginning of that. We got the beginning of the division rivalry matchups. It's a good time to be pumped up for sure.
Hey, man. This is where it matters, right? I mean, I think in years past we talk about trap game going into this week. RT, man, when we're dealing with a team like the Jets who's had mild success, now they lost one key component to that in Bryce Hall, right? But have a solid defense, an offense that can kind of knock you off balance every once in a while. Like, what is your mind frame going in here when we're going into Jersey going against a team like this?
Well, looking at this matchup just these last few days, it's almost as if, the Jets, you never really know what you're going to get with this team. And I would say just in comparison to where we were a couple of years back, we were kind of in a similar spot where we had a young quarterback, where Josh Allen was pretty raw, didn't really have the confidence that he has now within his skill set, at least at the NFL level, to go out there and do what he's been doing the last couple of years. But few years back, we were at a very similar point to where the Jets are. We had a very green team, green head coach, and a green quarterback. And not only are the Jets wearing green, but they got a green head coach, they got a green quarterback. They're a very green team. You never know what you're going to get with them. So, this is one of those games where I feel like it is in some form or fashion a trap game, because we are going to New Jersey. Now, do the Jets have the same home field advantage at MetLife Stadium that the Giants do? Far from it. And even in comparison to the Giants don't really have a home field advantage as well, it seems like, these last few years. So I think Bills Mafia will be well-traveled. We always are. But Robert Saleh, he's a very disciplined coach. This Jets team is not a Jets team of years past with Rex Ryan or Adam Gase. They're not making these stupid penalties left and right. They've really been able to essentially be that next man up. It seems like whenever one guy goes down, another guy is right there in the waiting to fill that spot. I think it's going to be a competitive game today, a far more competitive game than recent weeks by the Bills. And I think the Jets, they've kind of built this team the last few years to play against the division well, to play the division well, and to play the division better than, any of the other opponents that they've had.
I think it's interesting that they're kind of like the dark horse that came out of somewhat nowhere, right? Everybody thought the Jets were going to be a joke this year. I like Salah. I think, I liked him in San Fran. He's got a lot of heart. I think if anybody can motivate a team to do better than what they are on paper, it's a guy like him. And it's interesting. I mean, they got nothing to lose right now. They have a winning record and they have nothing to lose. So why not spoil the darlings of the NFL season, right? Or like try to put a little thorn in the heel of Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. Real quick, everybody, and we're going to get to saying hello to everybody that's checking out. I see our boy, Mr. Ryan Hickman's in the
What's up, Ryan?
What's up, Ryan? How are you, dude?
Don't let this scare you, Ryan.
Yeah,
Don't let it
busting
scare
on
you.
that caterpillar. I love it. But we just had the Bills inactive list come out. We got a couple names on this list. Maybe you boys might be surprised, might not. Mr. Jordan Poyer's on here. We knew that earlier in the week. Sean McDermott came out with that. Spencer Brown is on this list, which I guess I didn't really realize that his injury was that nagging. I think Quessenberry came in and took care of business. I'm not worried about that at all. You guys got any qualms about that?
No qualms about that.
No qualms.
Yep.
Yeah,
no qualms for Quessenberry.
Okay. We got Tommy Sweeney. He's inactive. Trey White is inactive. Now, he traveled with the team. He got activated to the 53. There was a possibility that he might play today. Everybody was kind of keeping an eye on it. He's not. I'm 100% okay with that. Anybody else got a problem?
With Corey
Nope.
Davis sitting today out, Swank. I don't think the wide receiver core would be something. And we talked about it on the K-Gun report. I don't think that offense is something to be too worried about. And if you can have Trey White rest for another week, you might as well do it.
Hell yeah. I want him back when it matters. You know what I mean? I think it's something to kind of compare to the way we think about Odell right now, right? Everybody wants to sign Odell for that December push into the playoffs. I think you guys at home should maybe think about Trey the same way people are talking about OBJ. Like, we want him in his prime to add to this top 3-2 defense in the NFL when that push is coming. I can't imagine what it's going to look like with Tre'Davious White, one of the top corners in the NFL, joins this squad, which is already top in the league. It's going to be insane. And I think it's going to change the look of it a lot.
Right. And if we go into the season, like Jared always mentions, the first 4 games of the regular season for some people are the preseason game. So if we can get Trey White 4 weeks before the end of the season, he'll get his knocks, he'll get his bruises, he'll get his learning curve, and by playoff time, he'll be primed to go.
Hell yeah.
I don't want him to wait that long, but still.
The other name on this list is Mr. Matt Milano. I think that he was on a short list of people that included Von Miller, Tremaine Edmonds earlier in the week, people that were knocked up at practice that we were looking at Saturday, Sunday, looking like kind of thinking, oh my God, like, are we going to be down Von, Tremaine, Matt Milano? like that's a lot of people. But luckily, it's only Milano. Now, Milano is having an all-pro season. Scott, you and I kind of talked about this before when you said that you thought that there was a chance he might not play. It's going to give a chance for some young bucks to shine, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. The rookie that we got out of the 3rd round this year, Terrell Bernard, I think I dubbed him the Milano 2.0 when we drafted him. So it's his time to shine. Like I said, the wide receiver core is banged up for the Jets. They do have a good running back in Michael Carter. So I think that's something he'll have to be responsible for, along with James Robinson, who I just saw was active, the acquisition that the Jets picked up from the Jaguars. So, I mean, it's going to be a test for him, but I think it's going to be good for us fans to lay eyes on the 3rd round draft pick to see what the future potentially could look for Buffalo.
Absolutely. So if we're diving forward into this game, there's a lot of locker room material that's been floating around. We got that defensive end D lineman talking a big game about Josh Allen begging for flags and crybaby stuff and all this. And then we got Sauce Gardner, who within the first week that he was on the New York Jets talked about how he couldn't wait to guard Stephon Diggs because he thought he was going to have a pretty easy time doing it. Ryan, what do you think is the weight of that? Do you think that I mean, we know this team, right? And we know that they take this kind of stuff seriously. They pretend like they don't in the media, but you can tell in games that they take this stuff seriously, right?
Yeah, be careful what you wish for. That's the saying. Never call out a sleeping giant, right?
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs is one of them. Josh Allen has never needed any quote-unquote bulletin board material. And if the Jets want to fuel the fire even more for Josh Allen, good luck. That facet of this game, I think, is what could lead this game to get out of hand in terms of the score, because Buffalo does play with a massive chip on their shoulder. And I go back to as recent as last week with Stephon Diggs running out of the tunnel with Jair Alexander, I believe his name is, of the Green Bay Packers. And they were talking all game long, and Alexander wasn't even really covering Stephon Diggs, and yet they're finding a way to talk to each other in between plays and things like that. So, this is a team that what makes it so great is the majority of the guys on the team were looked past. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs was labeled a diva inexplicably by Minnesota and the NFL. And Devin Singletary was somebody that was looked at as he's motor, he's a little running back, but played at Florida, at Atlantic or Florida International, small school. So there's a lot of that chippiness on this team. And one of the guys that brings that, unfortunately, won't be out there today is Matt Milano. But to talk about the guy taking his spot, in terms of the Bills draft, this player, I believe, was a player that I looked at, 3rd round pick, and said to myself, man, when he gets the opportunity, look out. And it appeared as if all preseason long he was itching for that opportunity to break through and be a one linebacker. But this team is so deep that maybe on any other team, Bernard would be, a top linebacker. But on this team, he's not with who we have. But now he's got an opportunity, and I'm really excited to see what the defense looks like today in terms of their attitude, in terms of their moxie, because they've earned the right to have a bravado this year that I don't think they've ever had, despite having Sean McDermott and some successful defenses in years past with McDermott. This defense is top-notch.
That's an interesting point, because if we can just pause right now and really reflect on what you just said, that you're excited to see what this defense looks like with a main piece missing, but doesn't sound like you're worried, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
If you look at years past and you got a main piece like Matt Milano missing, you're like, oh my God, like, what is this going to look like? But it's not that. It's like, I wonder what this young man is going to do. And that is something that should be cherished, Bills Mafia. That mindset right there, just pause and take that in, that this isn't a worry. This is I wonder what he's going to look like when we beat the shit out of this team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it seems like, when you have one guy out, the mark of a great coach is a coach that can rally the guys and get the guys motivated. Obviously, we know Marv Levy was really good at doing that. I think Sean McDermott has an underrated ability to get these guys to want to play for him. Players that maybe hadn't even had a start in 2-3 years. All these guys that we're talking about that have taken the spot of a Jordan Poyer, a Micah Hyde, a Trey White. They're coming in and they're playing, guns blazing. They're playing like it's the first time they've ever played football. It's in terms of the attitude and the excitement that they play with. That has to be a McDermott effect that I think is as well as maybe a Von Miller effect that we just haven't seen these last few years, and that's exciting to watch on Sundays, Mondays, or Thursdays for that matter.
And soon Saturdays. And Wednesdays.
And soon Saturdays. Yeah, maybe Wednesdays. Yeah. Black Friday. Why not?
Hey,
Fire it up.
Right? Yeah, sweet.
Right.
Yeah. I did think. Did you guys hear? Vaughn was talking to Richard Sherman on Vaughn's podcast. Vaughn Miller has a podcast. It's super interesting. It's really good. Diggs has been on. Allen's been on. But he had Richard Sherman on, and he got talking about the Jair Stephon Diggs thing with Sherman, because Sherman's a big shit talker, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know how else to describe this, so please don't ridicule me in the comments for it. It was so adorable what Von Miller said, because he basically asked Richard Sherman, like, I just don't get, like, does everybody trash talk in the NFL? And Richard Sherman's comment to him was, literally, you and Larry Fitzgerald are the only people in the league that do not. Like it was like a little kid, like, realizing something very obvious for the first time.
Is this the way it is?
Yeah. Like,
especially for someone that's been in the league for how many years?
I think it's super interesting, because in that podcast he was talking to, like, when he goes up against somebody, like, there was that play last week against the Packers where he stopped that fourth down by pushing the offensive lineman into another offensive lineman and onto the running back, right? And disrupting the run. And they were talking about, like, how the way he deals with things is if somebody holds him or somebody grabs him, he doesn't yell, he doesn't do anything. He just goes, hey, man, like, you better watch out because they're going to flag that next time. Like he's teaching and coaching, but he's so good that it must get into people's heads. And he goes, because he was telling Richard Sherman, like, yeah, I just tell him, you're going to get flagged for that. You better watch out. You better not do that again. And he's like, and they never do it the next play.
and then he tucks underneath him and gets a sack.
And then he smokes the quarterback. But anyway.
Von Miller, man. Von Miller, the Von cast is what they call it. And it's really interesting because a player that has been as successful as he has throughout his career, he has such a human way of looking at the game. It's refreshing. I think that show is probably one of the best player podcasts that I've seen ever. And for any Bills fan that hasn't checked it out, you might just see a couple clips here and there, but the clips are just a clip. Watch the whole thing and you'll see it for yourselves. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's definitely a good time. Rob Mullen wants to know, BTW, where the hell are you? I think he's talking to you, Ryan Thomas. Anchorage, Alaska. It's 50 degrees here in Canisius, and it looks like snow in your background.
I was gonna say all the leafless trees, and it's a white background.
Yeah,
it does look like
it with the glare.
It does. It does. There are leafless trees around. I'm at the Pendleton Country Club.
Oh,
watching the game,
getting a quick 9.
Trying to get the 9 in, but I'm better off not even trying today. The bad golf would lead to bad, quote unquote, as the kids say, bad juju for the Bills, and we don't want that. So I took today off from golfing.
There you go.
Scott, really quick, you and I were talking before we went on. As far as this locker board, bulletin board material, however you want to say it, I found it super interesting the way Josh Allen handled it last week, right? And we all were rooting for it, and it's something that, like, you love about Josh. It's also something that I think last week showed us can get him into trouble. When he's trying to force it and force a point, and he's so earnest and just has that big heart and wants to make plays against this guy for Stephon Diggs, for his team, obviously the whole wide receiving core, right? I think it's a great motivator. But, Scott, you and I were talking, like, it could be a little detrimental, right? Like, he could make bad decisions. What do you think it's going to look like going into this week with a similar situation with Sauce?
Well, we did talk about this, and I think our conclusion was we hope that it's not the same outcome as the Jair Alexander effect, because he did have quite a bit of pull in his antics on the field and off the field. So bring yourselves together. We hope Josh, because it's not just Josh Allen, it's Stephon Diggs with Sauce Gardner calling him out. So, and I think when teams tend to get chippy and start doing little cheap shots, little digs here and there, I think that affects it a little more. I think the verbiage outside of the locker room or outside of the game, like in the locker room and in the news and all stuff, that I think hits a little different. But when it's on the field and players start getting cheap shotty, start talking jibber jab, and you might right that in that moment want to get back at them. So I hope that's not the case for Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, play your game, use your aggression in scoring touchdowns. But I think McDermott probably addressed it this week. Being a smart coach that he is, he probably mentioned it about the Jair Alexander incident, and he probably brought that into this game. There's been a lot of talk about the opponent guys, talking about you guys. Bring it all together. Let's just dominate. The best way you can get back at these guys is getting that W on the board and winning this AFC East division. So I hope I see the mature Josh Allen, because, you're going to want to lower your helmet maybe, and that can get you a concussion. You could want that extra yard. You always go for that extra yard, but you may try something else different to get back at this team. It may hurt you. So just play your game, and let's see what happens. Quick question.
Yeah.
I didn't see on the inactives that Nyheim Hines was not inactive. Does that mean he's playing?
Yeah, I kind of think that was the plan. I think Brandon Beane addressed that on Pat McAfee. Also, a great little clip where Pat McAfee asked if he'd been having his eyes on him and what made him decide to do it, and then said F you at the end of it because he's obviously a Colts fan from his time on the Colts. Mm-hmm. And Brandon Beane laughed his ass off and took it in stride and said, respectfully, I appreciate your fuck you, but whatever. It was really funny. If you find the clip, it's out there. He said then that Hines is going to be on the punt return, I think, right off the get. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a couple touches today. What do you think, Ryan?
I wouldn't either. I agree with you 100%, Swank. I think there was a lot of reasons why a player like Nyheim Hines is of interest to a guy like Brandon Beane. The move is a move that I think is a threefold move. I think it helps the future, the present, and it helps the special teams as well as the run game. It's technically fourfold in terms of how the move will help the team. And I do hope to see Nyheim Hines get some touches, and maybe a preview to my bold prediction will feature Nyheim Hines. Maybe. You guys will have to stay tuned for that. But I think
you son of a bitch.
I think we'll see a little bit of a different wrinkle today to this offense, because it seems like in watching the clips of the Bills practice, they were feeding Nyheim Hines. It seemed like they were really trying to get him acclimated in terms of pass catching as a running back in this offense. So I'm looking forward to it. I feel like this was an awesome move for the team. It's a guy that they've been looking at for a few years now, and he's a player that was a real big piece to the Colts offense, actually, in terms of stepping up for Jonathan Taylor and filling that role of a solid RB2 pass-catching running back. And I expect even more than that from him on this offense.
Yeah, Lou RQ, thanks for bringing it up. I saw it as I was saying it. I agree with you, and part of my bold prediction is going to go along with that. Nyheim Hines isn't like a James Cook. James Cook, you still trying to figure out. You kind of want to sneak him into the packages, kind of expose him a little at a time. You know exactly what you're getting with Nyheim Hines. You're getting that 4.3 speed. So I don't see the Bills like trying to wean him in. I see the Bills just saying, "Hey, you're part of this offense now, man. You're a 4.3 speedster that can open up this field, bring those linebackers down, maybe drop a safety to have to come and pick you out of the slot." I think it's very dangerous offense with Nyheim Hines there, and I agree. I think they're going to use him right away. Look, I'm thinking 5 to 10 touches, man, and I think FanDuel has a lot of points on him for an anytime touchdown.
I think that they were talking about with all the Christian McCaffrey stuff, right? Like when he went to the 49ers, is he going to be involved right away? He was. And then the next week he was involved trifold to where he's setting NFL records for catching, passing, and running in a touchdown. You know, like they said the explanation for that is that running backs don't need a lot of time with the playbook. They need to get immersed in it, but literally you can huddle up and be like, "Hey, we're calling your number, run to the right." You know, like and that's it. Like, so you can get somebody involved without them having a lot of time in that offense, especially a veteran that knows what he's doing. And with his kind of speed, I mean, you might as well, right? Throw him in there. And for anybody that's worried about him cutting into James Cook's touches, I don't think that's the case. We've talked about it on the show. Scott brings it up quite a bit. It's probably going to cut more into Motor's touches than anything else, which is kind of what Zach Moss was supposed to be doing, right? He was supposed to be spelling Motor and giving him a little bit of a breath, a little bit of a change of pace kind of thing. Motor's actually taken on way more than he was ever supposed to at the beginning of this season. And they were always looking for that change of pace or a back that could catch the ball out of the backfield or anything different than what Motor supplies. I think what's interesting about Hines to me is that really people are worried about him taking touches away from people. I think that you should switch your mindset a little bit because you're talking about Shakir, who's a rookie, right, with the punt returns, and you're talking about James Cook, another rookie. I would look at it as Hines kind of relieves them of extra duties to where they can focus more on what they're supposed to be focusing on, right? James Cook can mirror a lot of what he does off Hines and his game, and why not? What better guy, right? He's had a lot of success in this league. He's a solid veteran, solid backup, and give you production and teach this young kid along the way without sacrificing touches. Shakir, people are saying, "Oh, well, he's been doing a great job with the punt returns. He's a rookie." Bean said again on McAfee, having a rookie back there, you know, you'd rather have a veteran. You'd rather have somebody that's done it. Hines is a proven back. He returned 2 punts for touchdowns in one game in his career. Like, there's a lot to benefit from here. And it doesn't mean Shakir, obviously, it doesn't mean Shakir is going to be inactive, right? It just means that he can focus on being a wide receiver more.
Right.
So I think this is a good thing. I think he covers a lot of bases. And, you know, you could rely on somebody like Micah Hyde to field punts when people weren't doing well, right? Now It was like before Hines came on, kind of up in the air. What the hell are you going to do? So I think this is going to be a win-win-win is what they would call this, I think. Yes.
Let's address this real quick. Nyheim Hines has 2 more years on his contract, okay? So I know we don't like to talk about draft, but the Bills aren't going to draft a running back this year, guys. Nope. Singletary might get re-signed. We got a rookie and Cook, and Hines is here for 2 to 3 years. So,
well,
yeah.
I mean, Hines isn't going to be a premier back, though, right?
No, he won't. But if they re-sign Singletary for a good deal, which I think they probably should, because he's not a 1,000-yard runner, that may be something that to consider.
I'm sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
I think too, you know, when a running back gets added to a group of running backs, we're trying to figure out how that running back can fit in, and that's like the first thing that our mind, you know, kind of tells us. But what is a move like Nyheim Hines going to do for Josh Allen. And as much as we love Josh Allen and watching Josh Allen every single week and how Josh Allen is able to will the Bills to victory and the offense looks really good with him and he's doing all these crazy hurdles and stuff like that, I think less is more in terms of each and every week. I don't want the Bills offense to have to come down to, well, Josh Allen has to play really, really well in order for this offense to be successful. Nyheim Hines is one of those guys that he's going to make Josh Allen's life so much easier in terms of Josh Allen, drop back, Nyheim Hines, here you go. Do whatever you want with the rest of the catch, with the yards after the catch. Josh Allen hasn't really ever had a guy like that really in his whole career. At least I can't think of a running back that can be that pass-catching back that can just make things a little bit easier for him. Singletary and Moss have largely been there. Shady wasn't really around that long, post, Allen being drafted here. So I just look at how Nyheim Hines is just going to be a really nice safety valve for Josh Allen, as well as, Dawson Knox. Hopefully we see Knox get featured into the offense a little bit more as the season wears on.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right. Moving things along here. Lou RQ says, will McKenzie step up today and hold on to the ball? Isaiah McKenzie has been taking a little bit of criticism for his play 2 weeks ago. I believe he redeemed himself this last week. I thought that, got that touchdown. He only had a couple touches anyway. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think Isaiah has a spot on this team. I think that they do need to release that jet sweep, put a little bit more of a mix-up in there for them, keep defenses on their toes. But, one bad game doesn't spell a season for me, and I think that he has proven himself over the years to be more of a benefit to this team than a detriment. So I'd rather have him right now than some other off-the-road free agent that whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And it's about limited opportunities. I mean, we have Diggs, Davis, now Hines, Singletary's doing great. So when you have limited carries, you're going to be it's going to be more noticeable if you mess up. So, I like McKenzie. They signed him for a couple of years. He'll be here for a while, but that jet sweep opens up the jet sweeps play action, opens up that quick jet sweep to the corner of the end zone, what Josh Allen missed against, I forgot what team it was, had McKenzie over there, but it'll come into its own. It will. McKenzie will be a benefit to this offense. You'll see it when he has to be.
That play's worth 12 yards all day long.
Yep.
Right. I'll harken back to the fact that, for anyone that has been frustrated over Isaiah McKenzie, not that we don't get it or that we disagree, it was frustrating to see anybody drop a pass when they got, 20 yards in front of them or whatnot, but just understand the fact that Isaiah McKenzie is still the only receiver on this Bills roster that was on the roster when Josh Allen was drafted. So there's a reason for that. I think Isaiah McKenzie's probably one of those guys, and I don't know this for certain because I'm not in the locker room, but I would assume that Isaiah McKenzie's one of those guys that really brings the team together with his personality and allows other guys around him to show their personalities. And he's somebody that he has shown quite a lot on the field. Don't forget, this past week, a former Buffalo Bills wide receiver that I'm not even going to say his name said he's happy that he's not in Buffalo. The guy that ran him out of town was Isaiah McKenzie. And we'll just say his name, Cole Beasley. So I'd rather have a guy like Isaiah McKenzie than a guy like Cole Beasley. We'll just leave it at that. Throw shade at, call a spade a spade. Isaiah McKenzie might have dropped the ball, but he's a pretty good guy, good teammate. He's done a lot for this team, and there's still a lot of football left, guys. So be patient.
4th in targets, 3rd in receptions for the Buffalo Bills, so they're not forgetting about him.
And he's cheap. He'll play here for candy. The guy's contract's nothing. The amount of production you get out for the little bit that you pay him and he's happy is insane. We all thought that his contract was going to be double what it was. So I mean, it goes back to this roster, this depth, earning a spot. Like, nobody gets a spot or a starting position handed to them on this team. McDermott does not do that. You earn it. So if McKenzie's out there, just know he earned it. And that doesn't mean that Shakir won't earn it. That doesn't mean that you're watching like reports of Hines taking snaps out of the slot, which he did in practice this week already, and that's a plan, and he's done it in the past. There's a lot of options there. And these are the things that I think once you see Dorsey tap into the full potential of his offensive coordination? Yeah, I like that.
Coordination.
It's going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Once they figure out everything they can do, good luck.
Yep.
Like, it's just like multiple guys that can do everything. So it'll be good. All right, fellas, we're at 12:04. Let's hit score prediction, bold prediction, and hit a little X Factor, and then we'll be on our merry way and see what's going on in Jersey. So we'll start with you, Ryan, down there. What do you got for a score prediction and a bold prediction?
I'm going to go 35-14. I did say earlier in the show I thought the game would be competitive, but I didn't say that it would be competitive the whole time. I think the first half might be a little competitive, and the Buffalo Bills will run away with it in the second half as a reversal to last week where we were really good in the first half, a little bit lackadaisical in the second half. I think those P's and Q's will be checked. The T's will be crossed. The I's will be dotted by Sean McDermott, Ken Dorsey, and Leslie Frazier. We'll see a nice, clean second half from the Buffalo Bills and running away with this one. I do anticipate that the Buffalo Bills defense is going to get on Zach Wilson. He's going to have a long day today. He's going to be wishing he was out on a yacht with a bunch of ladies at some point like he was during the summer. Maybe not in terms of what I expect from that defense. 5 or 6 sacks is what I'm expecting. Bold prediction is that Nyheim Hines will have a lot of touches. I'm anticipating catches, rushes, as well as possibly a touchdown in his Buffalo Bills debut. That's my bold prediction. I think you got to put him in your fantasy lineup this week. I know a lot of people are wondering who you should put in with a bye week running back. I think Nyheim Hines in his Bills debut is as good a fit as any.
I love it.
There you go.
I love it. Backflips all afternoon. That's what I want to see.
Yep.
All right, Scooter, what do you got?
42-10. I don't think this Jets offense has what it takes to compete with our Bills defense, even though we are a little banged up still on defense. I just see, our defensive line is healthy, so they're going to wreak havoc on Zach Wilson. My bold prediction, I'm right with you, Ryan. I'm giving Nyheim Hines his first touchdown, and I'm seeing a couple more screens than what we're used to being played by this Ken Dorsey offense. We're going to see a lot of screen play, I think, not only out of the backfield, but a couple wide receiver screens, maybe even Hines on the outside on the edge for those wide receiver / running back screens. So Nyheim Hines gets the Bills have a new toy. It's not a new guy that they're trying to wean in. Like I said, it's a new toy that they're going to want to play with right away. So
I like it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going 45-12 with no touchdowns being scored by the New York Jets. I have no respect for Zach Wilson. I think he's going to get his brains beat in today. And I think that Von Miller, although slightly banged up, will provide as a nice distraction for my boy Groot, who is going to have a multiple sack day, at least 2, and comes out and really puts the bolts in the nuts right to Mr. Wilson. And
giving him the business.
Reminds him why he threw 3 picks last weekend.
There you go.
Real quick, I think somebody that we didn't really hit was C.J. Mosley. I mean, he's been having a great year. He's got twice the amount of tackles as anybody else on that New York Jets defense. He's given us a little bit of trouble in the past. Personally, I think Josh has matured beyond having to worry about it. I think he knows how to dissect and deal with people like C.J. Mosley. But do you guys have anything quickly on that?
Yeah, I mean, C.J. Mosley, great player, but he's missed some time, so maybe C.J. Mosley might be a little bit behind in terms of C.J. Mosley versus Josh Allen, because Josh Allen's a much different player than what he was, even 2 years ago. So that's a really interesting wrinkle to this matchup that I hadn't really thought of. So a good comment there by one of the viewers on the show today, and I really feel that Sauce Gardner is legit. I do feel he's legit, but this is the toughest test that Sauce Gardner has ever had in probably his entire football playing career. So that's something to really keep our eyes out on too. Whether he's lining up on Davis or Diggs, it's the toughest test of his pro football career. So just throwing that out there too.
Maybe
9 out of the 11 defensive starters were brought in via free agency this year for the Jets. Salah's doing something to that defense. It's nice to see them coming up in the ranks. They're going to be a lot better. But this defensive line is really good. That'll be my X factor, is how our offensive line handles their defensive line. Because without that defensive line, the linebackers are nothing. Mosley and Quincy Williams, who's a hell of a linebacker, get a lot of their stuff done because of this powerful defensive line. So that's going to be the X factor. And if like I said, if those two linebackers are having a good day, that means our offensive line is not having a good day.
I love it.
The only good thing about the Jets is those stealth black jerseys. Other than that, they can leave it.
All right. Well, do some final thoughts and get out of here. Let you guys enjoy your Bills game day. Really fast, I'm going to say they are going to throw at Sauce. There's going to be balls thrown Sauce's direction. So this is not the duo or the tandem or the trio that is going to shy away from that, just so everybody knows. Like, he'll get his opportunities to put his money where his mouth is. I don't think he'll cash that check, but nobody have any fear. Sauce will be in the mix somehow, and I think it'll be a sad day for Mr. Gardner. So, final thoughts. Scotty, what do you got?
Final thoughts: play the game. Don't get frustrated with all the talk that's outside of the field. Your actions speak louder than words, Buffalo. I know we got caught up last week with Jair Alexander and that defense. Just show up, play your game, and let's not forget our Stephon Diggs has his very own sauce. So bring that sauce, Stephon Diggs. I know you like to talk, my friend, but double-digit catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. Get it on him. Humble this man, because he does need to be humbled. Enjoy your Sunday 1 o'clock football game. Drink responsibly. Eat all the food you can. Go Bills!
RTT, before you get into the country club, what is your final thought?
My final thought is that this is a great opportunity for the Buffalo Bills to show a different look, whether it's Nyheim Hines on offense or shout out to the third-round rookie that forced Kyle Brandt to pull that soggy chicken wing out of his pocket. Throw Bernard. I think he's going to have a really good day today. And I think we're going to see a very athletic version of this Buffalo Bills defense running sideline to sideline, because the New York Jets are a run-first team. Granted, they got a lot of young talent at the wide receiver position, but we mentioned Michael Carter before, James Robinson brought in. They need to do anything they can to put the training wheels on Zach Wilson for as long as possible, because Zach Wilson has not shown that progression that Josh Allen did going from year 1 to year 2, 2 to 3, and so forth. Zach Wilson looks worse than he did as a rookie. So I think the key to winning this game is shutting down the run game of the New York Jets, as well as implementing our own run game on the Jets, not throwing the ball 60, 65 times a game and wearing down our offensive line, because the Jets' defensive line is pretty scary. That's the best facet of this team for the New York Jets. So that's the key to victory for me. Run the ball, stop the run, no turnovers, no sloppy play. Try not to jaw, just focus on playing your game, as Scott said, and I think this should be an easy Buffalo Bills victory if they do those things.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think this is a good practice for next week. I know we don't like to look into next week, but you have a Vikings team that's a little scarier than this New York Jets team coming to town next weekend. And I think in days past or years past, you could have looked at this as a trap game like we were talking. I don't think it is. I think this is a get-right game. I think the second half of the Green Bay game was where you got caught in a little trap, and you still came out victorious. This is a new team, a new season, a new regiment. Like, get in there, handle your business, work on your run game, move that pocket. If that line's giving you a little bit of trouble, Josh Allen is the best quarterback under pressure in the NFL. So move the pocket, get a little run yard, handle it on defense with mostly backups, and have fun. Handle biz and have fun, as my boy Stevie Johnson would say.
Business.
Listen,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us.
Yep.
Go Bills. We love you guys. Watch this game and have a good time. Go Bills.
Salute the service, man. Thank you for all that you guys have done. Go Bills!
Go Bills!
Go Bills!
this is a dangerous group